rush these things.
I know, that's right.
He was the wrong person.
Why? You bad on time, Jake?
No, I just have enough things that
Huh?
I have enough things that I fix besides coffee.
I know. We had the IDA meeting and everybody that was here. Okay, so before we start, nobody looked at the meeting was.
Although, I can probably get it done.
Yeah, I know you could. But there's a bazillion other things you need to do. He's great. Okay. I just started reading. Yep. Also great.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Syracuse Planning Commission. We have a number of public hearings and other business for this evening that we'll get to in just a moment. Our first order of business is to take action on the minutes of our previous meeting held earlier this month on the 4th. The minutes have been distributed to the commission members in advance of tonight's meeting, and if there is a motion for action on those minutes, this would be,
Already we're halfway.
unintended gavel action there. But we would be prepared to entertain a motion for action on our minutes from the March 4th meeting.
Move approval.
Second?
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? Those in favor of the motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Our March 4th minutes are approved. And we'll head into our more formal agenda here. Two notes first, before we begin. Slight change in our meeting format where we have placed some old business first with the idea that it might introduce a little more efficiency and be more effective in proceeding through our agenda and be a little more time sensitive for applicants who have had previous presentations here and their applications are not quite finished. So we'll start that this evening with some old business, and then as we move into the public hearings, just by way of procedure for anyone who is unfamiliar with our process, a member of the staff will introduce each application before us tonight for a public hearing. We ask that the applicant or the representative come to the podium in the center of the room, provide their name and address for the record, and then a brief summary of the application that's involved. There may be questions as follow-up from the commission members, and following that, we will invite members of the public who wish to speak in favor of the application to do that, and we will provide a similar opportunity for those members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to the application to do that as well. And where comments are offered in opposition, we will encourage the applicant to return to the podium and address the comments made in opposition. As you make comments, if that is your decision, either for or against, we ask that you limit your comments to 2 to 3 minutes worth of comments. With that, I think we are prepared to begin. And would you introduce our first item for the old business? Thank you, Jake.
We're going to start with a seeker determination for project AS-2024-02. This is for a street abandonment of a portion of East Genesee Street right away across the street. So after guidance and consultation with Corp Counsel, it's been decided that the commission will in fact perform seeker on street actions and special use permits prior to the recommendation to council on the final decision. So that's why this is back on the agenda.
Thank you. So it's this is an item we've heard previously, representative from the city talking about the site in question, which is literally across the street from where we're sitting this evening, for abandonment of a portion of part of East Genesee Street that has been not in use as a street for, I think, half a century or thereabouts. Um, It would be appropriate for the commission to designate, adopt a motion designating as lead agency for the purposes of seeker for this application.
We're ready.
Yes.
And is everyone familiar with the 11 or the questions from the survey at part 2 that was read right now?
Yes.
Yes.
Does anyone believe the project will have any moderate to large impact?
No.
If you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration on the speaker. Yeah, you have to part 3 accordingly. We need a motion.
Yep.
Yeah. I move to establish the Planning Commission as the lead agency and make a negative seeker declaration.
We have the seeker motion in front of us. Is there discussion on this motion? If not, then all in favor of the seeker motion, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Are there any abstentions? The seeker motion carries. And this will be conveyed to the common council for their final action on this item. So
Thank you.
that completes that old business item.
Next on the agenda are 2 companion pieces that are also old business items. It's a major site plan review and also a re-subdivision for 301-11 East Taylor Street, MASPR-23-07 and R-23-70. This will also include, as mentioned, for the first item, seeker for the entire project, so phase 1, phase 2, and public infrastructure as well.
And there are representatives here this evening.
Hi, yes, my name is Ray Ryback. I'm here on behalf of McCormick Barron. My address is 1 Grand Army Plaza in Brooklyn, New York.
I think we had a presentation on these items a few months ago at the tail end of last year. Perhaps you could give us an update on any revisions or tweaks that have been made to the project between then and now to bring us up to date on the current thinking.
Our site plan that's up on the screen right now, we had some discussions with staff, particularly on some zoning variants that we were seeking. One was a 180-foot variance that we were requesting on the large building in the upper right-hand corner, and the other variance was to reduce the setback distance from 9 foot to less than 9 foot without raising the grade of the building. We've come to a negotiation where we are going to move the bigger buildings back, so the building in the upper right-hand corner and what we're calling Building 1, and the building to the left, upper left corner, what we're calling Building 2, we'll move those building planes back to 9 foot so we can actually keep our first floor elevation at grade. We are still, the townhomes, which are the remaining buildings, will still be less than 9 foot, and we just got some confirmation today that that would be acceptable to the staff and hopefully the zoning board as well.
Any other changes since December?
That's pretty much it.
Okay. Okay, great. Questions from the commission members? And we're talking here both about the re-subdivision and the major site plan review, so questions on either topic would be appropriate here.
Yeah, I have a question. I'm just out of curiosity. I'm interested in explanation for this. But on the full seeker form, On page 10 of the form, the question 18, consistency with community character, that was checked as a no. And I'm just curious about if you could explain that a little bit, because it seems to me that there actually is a substantial change in the community character. It's a change that might be judged by many as being a positive change, but nevertheless, there is a significant change. So answering yes to that would not necessarily mean a positive declaration for seeker. So I'm just curious about that particular issue and what your thinking is on that.
Some of that thinking may have come from the fact that it's just residential and it's going to remain residential.
Right. Thank you.
I have a Jake question. The application and the staff comments speak to construction on Saturday and Sunday. The application requests construction, if allowed, Saturday and Sunday. The staff comments, I believe, suggest Saturdays with prior approval. I'm just, are we talking both days? Are we talking one day? Or are we going to work it out?
Yeah, that's
I guess is
something,
the next piece.
that's something we can definitely work out as, when construction commences. The city has a noise ordinance that's in effect at all times. So that's something that would factor into this, but clearly projects have to move forward at some point, and, we like to work with our constituents within, the rules that we have to, allow projects to move forward and commence work. So that's something we can definitely work with them on and make sure that there are no impacts with residents post-starting construction.
That works for you.
Yes, absolutely.
That's it. Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission members for the applicant? Good. Okay. Thank you very much for the update. We appreciate it. We've closed public comment previously on these two applications, and we can now close the public hearings associated with on these two applications. And having done that, it would be appropriate for our secret deliberation to come next.
Brody Smith is our counsel for seeker on this project.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
This is the drawings up on the screen, in case you want to see it close up.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll have to go around. Okay.
We have a tendency to share, but thank you.
And then the smaller aerial I have is just to orient you to the two different properties involved. I've thought a lot about this project. So probably familiar with the geography. So in the packet of paper that I've given you here, you've got part 2 of the full environmental assessment form that's been pre-filled with suggestions from staff. I'm going to go through part 2 of the EAF, see if the board agrees with those suggestions. Then there's a blank part 3, and there's proposed reasons in support of a part 3 determination. And then in the back of this packet, there is a draft resolution that you could use if you decide to act on seeker tonight. So I know that we've talked about this process recently in training, so I'm just going to jump right into it unless anybody wants to ask any questions in the front end.
Let's
Okay.
begin.
All set.
For the benefit of the applicant and the crowd, Part 2 of the FEAF is an issue spotting exercise where the board will be discussing if there's any potential impacts that need to be analyzed in more detail in Part 3. There are 18 questions, and the first question involves impact on land. Because this is a project that does involve construction and physical alteration of land, I recommend that the board answer this question yes. Does the board agree?
Yes.
Yes.
As you go through the sub-questions, A through H, the questions ask about the depth to the water table, the slope on the property, whether the location of bedrock, whether a large amount of material will be removed from the property, et cetera. You have to choose between no or small impact or a moderate to large impact for these sub-questions. Due to the nature of the project and the nature of the land at issue, it appears that there would be no or small impact for all of these sub-questions. Does the board agree with that?
Yes.
The second question involves impact on geological features. We recommend that the board answer no to this question because there are no unique geological features in the proximity for the project. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The third question is impacts on surface water. It asks whether the proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or surface water bodies. There are none in proximity to the project. We recommend that the board answer this question no. Does it agree?
Yes.
Third is impact on groundwater. This project will be connected to public water and sewer. It is not located above any aquifers that are used for drinking water. We recommend that the board answer this question no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The fifth question is impact on flooding. This project is not located in any 100-year or other floodplain. There are none in the area. We recommend that the board answer this question no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
Impacts on air. Asks whether the proposed action may include any state-regulated air admission source. The purpose of this question is, projects that would require like a state DEC air permit. This project is residential development. It requires no such permit. We'd recommend that the board answer this question no. Does it agree?
Yes.
Impacts on plants and animals. This question asks whether the proposed action may result in the loss of flora or fauna. This proposed construction project would take place on property that's located in an urban area that has been previously developed for quite some time with no habitat. Does the board agree that we recommend that this question be answered no? Does the board agree?
Yes.
The eighth question is impact on agricultural resources. There are no agricultural resources in the vicinity of the project area. Does the board agree that this question should be answered no?
Yes.
Impact on aesthetic resources. The impact on aesthetic resources asks whether there are any state-recognized aesthetic resources that be negatively impacted in terms of viewshed by the construction of the project. The nearest such designated resource is the former Central Technical High School. It's a couple blocks away and is not visible except the rooftop from the project site, and the project site would not impede any viewsheds of that resource. Does the board agree that this question would be answered no? Impact on historic and archaeological resources asks whether the proposed action may occur in or adjacent to historic or archaeological resource. It's the same analysis in this case. There are a number of historic resources in downtown Syracuse, but the nearest, again, is that Central High School building, which will not be impacted by this project. The likelihood of archaeological resources is very low, considering that the project has been developed for more than 100 years in various different industrial uses. One property was a landfill, the other property was formerly a gas filling station and manufacturing uses, so the likelihood of any kind of archaeological resources is very remote. For that reason, we'd recommend that the board answer this question no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The next is impact on open space and recreation. There are no open space or recreation areas impacted by the project site. Staff recommends that this question be answered no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
Number 12 is impact on critical environmental areas. There's no areas in the project that have been designated as a critical environmental area. For that reason, we recommend that the board answer this question no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The 13th question is impact on transportation. It asks whether the proposed action may result in a change to existing transportation systems. Because it's a large project involving many new residential units, we recommend that this question be answered yes, and that we go into the sub-questions. Does the board agree?
Yes, agreed.
Okay. The first sub-question is whether the projected traffic increase may exceed capacity of existing roadways. The applicant has provided a traffic impact study that looks at the various intersections in the area. The traffic impact study states that there are a number of intersections that operate at a sea level. So that is, you think of it as a grading system, A through F. So they are busy intersections. Because of the potential for many additional visits due to this project, staff recommends that you mark this question moderate to large impact and that it be analyzed in part 3 of the EAF. Does the board agree?
Yes.
Yes.
The remaining questions have to do with parking, public transportation, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations, and whether it represents the proposed action represents a wholesale change in the pattern of movement of people or goods, meaning that it would drastically change transportation patterns in the area. For those, none of those are impacted by this project, given its location and the existence of substantial infrastructure dealing with all of those issues. So we recommend that the remaining sub-questions in question 13 be answered no to small. Does the board agree?
Agreed.
Yeah? Okay. Question 16 is impact on human health. Impacts on human health involve whether proposed action will have an impact from the exposure of contaminants and existing contamination. This project does involve redevelopment of a former brownfield site. That being said, it is not a project that is going to contribute contamination to the area. As part of the project, there will have to be soil cleanup pursuant to DEC permits, so contamination will be removed from the project site. It's not an industrial use that would contaminate the area. So even though one of the project sites is likely a brownfield, we recommend that you answer this question no, because the project will not contribute contamination. It will actually reduce contamination. Does the board agree with that?
Yes. Agreed. Before you move on to the next question, could you back up to 14 and 15? Did we cover those?
Yeah, so I will. So 14, we answered no for energy. Oh, did I skip over?
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
I
in
might have
I'm in
skipped over
agreement
it.
with
Well, that's
that.
my
I just
mistake.
want to make sure we
So,
cover
yeah,
it.
no, I appreciate that.
it was
I
15
going
that we didn't do
too
the yes.
fast. I'm sorry. So 14 asks about energy. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy? So this is, electric resources, heating, cooling. And this project involves the replacement of existing residential housing stock with new residential housing stock. As part of the project, there's no anticipation of having to upgrade a substation or that it's going to have a substantial increase in the load on the grid. So for that reason, we recommend that this question be answered no. Does the board agree?
Yes.
So 15 is impact on noise, odor, and light. It asks whether the proposed action will have an increase in noise, odors, or outdoor lighting. We recommend that you answer this question yes, because there will be a significant construction process that will generate noise, and it is worthwhile to go through the sub-questions for this one. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The first question asks whether the proposed action may produce sound above noise levels established by local regulation. So we recommend that this question be checked moderate to large so we can analyze it further in part 3 of the EAF to analyze the construction noise that we just mentioned a moment ago. Does the board agree with that?
Yes.
The remaining questions have to do with blasting, routine odors, and issues with light pollution. We recommend that those all be checked no or small. Due to the nature of the development being residential, it's unlikely that there'll be any impacts there. Does the board agree that the remaining sub-questions should be answered no to small?
Agreed.
Okay. So I just did it a little bit out of order, so forgive me.
Okay.
Number 16 we just covered, I think.
Yes, indeed.
And then that takes us to the last two, 17 and 18. 17 is consistency with community plans. Is the proposed action consistent with adopted land use plans? It is, according to staff, that this is consistent with our comprehensive planning documents and by and large, the zoning. So we recommend that this question be answered no. Does the board agree? Yes. And community character involves shifts of use. In this case, the area is either vacant property or currently used for public housing. After the project is completed, it'll be public housing. The area surrounding it is a mix of mostly residential and some commercial use to the north as you get to the edge of downtown Syracuse. But by and large, and I think the presentation that you heard from the applicant before echoed this, the project is anticipated to be consistent with the current character of the community after full build out. So we recommend that this question be answered no. Does the board agree? Yes. Okay, so the next page in your packet here is part 3 of the EAF. That is where you're eventually going to decide to issue either a positive declaration or a negative declaration. A positive declaration would state that this project will result in no significant, a negative declaration will state that this project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an EIS would not be required. A positive declaration is B on your form, and it states, C on your form, that this project may result in one or more significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement will be required. So what we've done is we've provided some proposed reasons supporting a determination in support of a negative declaration. And so that document looks like this. It's behind your part 3. So what we did is we provided, and you saw this in your packet that was sent out last week. There's some background information about the project on the first page, and then first 1.5 pages. And then you get into the analysis of the potential impacts on the next page. And it goes through questions 1 through 18 and reflects the conversation that we just had and provides additional background information, which you may have reviewed in anticipation of this meeting to help us answer all those questions. I'm going to direct you to the two that we checked as being potential moderate to large for more discussion here, and that involved noise impacts and traffic impacts. So traffic is impact on transportation. That's covered in number 13 in your sheet, and it talks a little bit about the traffic impact study that was provided by the applicant and reviewed by staff. In addition to being reviewed by internal staff here at the city also retained CNS engineers to review the traffic impact study and give their thoughts on it as well on behalf of the city. So I'm going to read just a portion of this to you for us to talk about. The TIS evaluated impacts that would result not only for the project, but also anticipated future residential development of nearby parcels. What that means is the TIS includes not just the phase 1 and phase 2 on the aerial that I gave you, but it's anticipated that the surrounding parcels will also be redeveloped by Syracuse Housing Authority in the near future. And so the TIS actually anticipates those expected projects in their traffic count, their traffic numbers. The TIS included data collection, site visits, evaluation of existing conditions, an accident analysis, a trip generation estimate, net trip distributions, anticipated road improvement projects, and conclusions provided by GTS Consulting. GTS Consulting is the consultant that was retained by the applicant to prepare the traffic impact study. So Gordon Stansberry is the person who signed the TIS. The TIS states that all proposed development access driveways are projected to operate at levels of service level C or better during both peak hours under either existing roadway or community grid roadway network options. What that means is I alluded to before, there are several intersections in the area that operate at C, but the TIS concludes that none of them will drop below C due to the project. That's largely due to the fact that the project is replacing existing housing stock with upgraded, more modern, desirable housing stock. There is a net increase in units, but it's not enough to make a difference in the opinion of the TIS based on the infrastructure that's available. And the TIS does not recommend a need for any additional infrastructure like new lights or that sort of thing. The project and the anticipated build-out anticipates a couple of these roads, not for this phase, but in future phases, being extended and linked. But so that's taken into account, that's the project for some of the development of the neighboring parcels, that 2 roads will be extended. But besides that, the TIS doesn't really anticipate any requirement for infrastructure upgrades. When it references the community grid options, the TIS took into account at the time it was being written, community grid versus not community grid in terms of the I-81 project build out. The TIS concluded the project will have no significant impact on traffic operations in the study area, regardless of whether the existing road network is maintained or the I-81 community grid option is completed. The additional traffic generated by the project will largely be offset by removal of existing traffic that is currently being generated by the existing residential development in the study area, which I just alluded to. So those are potential reasons for, in support of a negative declaration under seeker for traffic on question 13. That the reason we're discussing is because we marked it as a potential moderate to large issue. So does the board have any questions about that reasoning in support of a negative declaration?
No questions, thank you.
So if the board is satisfied that this review by staff and by our outside consulting engineering firm and the information provided by the consultant is adequate to reach a neg dec on the issue of traffic?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So the last thing that we will study is noise. And noise is covered in question 15, which is in the bottom of the page that we're just at. The noise that we're worried about is construction noise. Operational noise will be negligible, considering it's a residential use. So what I've provided to you, that aerial there shows where the likely receptors, meaning the people who are going to continue to be living near the construction site that could potentially be impacted by it, the location of those. The applicant has proposed several measures as part of their design plan that are intended to reduce the potential impact on those receptors by noise. And those are included in this proposed neg dec language in the bullet points that you see on the page there. So just running through a couple of them, we discussed before the idea of construction hours being limited during the week, Monday through Friday, from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. to reduce the impact on residents during the construction period so there's not noise late at night. Also, the applicant has proposed Saturday construction only being allowed from 5 to 7 and only with prior approval from the codes office. So there are times when it is necessary for construction to occur on the weekends due to traffic conditions or the availability of certain equipment, materials, that sort of thing. But it's something that could be coordinated through the codes office, and they would be a check to make sure that it wasn't all the time. The second bullet has to do with demolition. There's only 2 small structures in the phase 2 area. There'd be more significant demolition in the phase 1 area. And so the demolition, though, is expected to be limited to 1 month. The overall construction process could last as long as 2 years, but the demolition would be a relatively short period of time. Trucks would be prohibited from idling outside the construction area. Construction equipment would be placed as far as possible from nearby receptors, I should say, that have any kind of direct line of sight with the construction area. So there's an ability in the Phase 1 area to position construction equipment as far away from the existing apartments and as close to the road as possible, and that's included in the proposal. With regard to the Phase 2 area, if you look at the map, the Phase 2 area is south of the existing rail line, and so that's a significant barrier that would mitigate noise impacts on all the residential receptors on the other side of the berm, and is quite frankly less of a concern for that site. So with all those design features involved, and taking into account the length of potential impact being a 2-year period, not forever, and the background conditions in downtown Syracuse vis-a-vis noise, is the board in agreement with the staff recommendation for a negative declaration on the issue of noise?
Yes.
Okay. So those are the only 2 questions that we checked moderate to large. And so those would be, if you agree on a neg deck on both of those, then I think you're set to vote to either issue a pos deck or a neg deck on the project overall. Is the board comfortable? So going back to part 3, I'll read the neg deck language out to you one last time. This project will result in no significant adverse impacts on the environment, and therefore an environmental impact statement need not be prepared. Is the board comfortable voting on a neg deck at this point?
Yes.
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 Okay. So the last document in this packet in the back is the resolution that we provided to you last week. And so that is a neg deck resolution. And it goes through the project background, and it goes through the regulations and seeker, the different things that we just went through. The EAF forms are designed to satisfy your regulatory obligations to go through those different issues, those 18 questions. So this resolution will serve as your seeker resolution. It says, in addition to issuing the neg deck, it says that the commission directs staff to make the necessary publications and authorizes them to, take all necessary steps in terms of completing the paperwork and having the forms filed. Does the board agree with everything in the neg deck resolution?
Yes.
Yes.
One question or suggestion, as it were, or perhaps for the record. In question 17, in the previous document that we just discussed, in the 7th clause in the resolution, and other places throughout the packet are referring to consistency with community plans, city plans, et cetera. And I guess I would just like, if possible, for the whereas clause, the 7th clause in the resolution, to refer to consistency with the community grid vision plan, which has a very substantial section in it with respect to the East Adams redevelopment project.
Yep, that will be added.
Just given the amount of time and effort that has been put into the vision plan, and now it is an official document, I think it would be useful to keep that before people.
Absolutely. If the board agrees, that'll be added to the resolution. Does the board agree with that amendment?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So it is added. All right. So you voted for a neg deck, and that completes your obligations under seeker. So you are now free to proceed with the application, the substance of the application here. And before the board is an application for site plan approval. There's also a application pending before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Did you want to speak?
Yeah, that's correct. And it's been presented, but before seekers perform, no action can be taken. So, the 2 projects on the agenda, obviously, and before any action can be taken on those or the BZA item that remains, seeker needs to be performed on the updated site plan in front of you on the project as a whole, including all phases and all public infrastructure right-of-way work.
So you've now completed seeker for the whole thing. So now you can act on the site plan, and the BZA at their next meeting can act on the remaining variance application. If the board so desires, you could adopt the site, you could approve the site plan today upon the condition that the BZA grants the one remaining variance that is still required. And that would alleviate the need for the Housing Authority to return to another Planning Commission meeting if you choose to do that. Are there any questions, changes, concerns for the applicant about the site plan now that we're through seeker? Anything you wish to discuss?
No. Your only amendment was to the 7th?
Yeah, right. It's just the community grid vision plan to insert that.
Yep, yeah, we added that to
Right,
the
we
name
added it,
deck,
okay.
yep, yeah. Okay, well, does the board feel comfortable taking action on the site plan now? Staff has suggested some conditions. I'm going to read off the conditions that are recommended. The first condition is that the project be required to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan, a SWIP. Does the board have any questions about that?
No.
Does the board agree with that condition?
Yes.
The second condition is that construction be limited to Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. and from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays, but only with permission of the codes office. Does the board agree to that condition?
Yes.
The third condition is that trucks would be prohibited from idling outside construction sites. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The fourth is that construction equipment will be placed as far as possible from residential receptors. Does the board agree?
Yes.
The fifth would be that any excess soil being removed, this is from the Phase 1 area, will be sampled, characterized, and properly disposed of in accordance with all applicable local, state, and federal regulations, and that a soil management plan will be adhered to. Does the board agree to that condition?
Yes.
The sixth condition is that the applicant shall comply with a remedial action work plan for the Phase 2 area and all the protocols required therein for the removal of contaminated soil, the quantification of greenhouse gases, and the design of a vapor mitigation system. What that means is because there's VOCs, a certain type of contaminant in the soil, that the buildings need to be designed in such a way that soil vapor intrusion is prevented from entering the residences. Does the board agree with that condition?
Yes.
Yes.
The last two conditions involve the use of mobile generators. The staff recommends that reciprocating internal combustion engine generators that require government permits or registration not be used during construction. This is to minimize noise. Does the board agree with that condition?
Yes.
It still allows them to use small portable generators that don't require permit or registration. And then the last condition says that best management practices must be used, such as spraying water or temporarily stopping work to reduce dust on and around the construction site so that dust does not impact neighboring residential uses. Does the board agree with that condition?
Yes.
I believe those are all the conditions. Christian, did I cover everything in the staff recommendation?
That 13 conditions, is that what the enumeration of this?
Second?
I had, these are 13 conditions, is that correct?
I think there are additional conditions in the packet.
Yeah,
Are there some more in the packet?
right, yes.
Yeah, I don't have that document
Okay,
in
all
front
right,
of me.
good.
Yeah,
That's what I wanted to check, because I didn't have a one-to-one correspondence here.
yeah, I'm sorry, I don't have that
That's
document in
okay.
front of me. So there are, they may actually just be divided up in a different way.
There are the affordability requirements.
Oh, right.
Right.
Has the board had an opportunity to review the additional conditions concerning affordable housing?
Yes,
Does the board wish to require those additional conditions as well?
yes.
Okay. So just to cover everything, in case there's any confusion, staff has 13 conditions in the packet. Does the board want to impose all 13 of those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we've covered that. Are there any other questions with regard to the site plan application before the board? No. Well, I will stop there unless, Mira, is there anything that I did not add that you'd like me to add to there?
No, sir.
Okay, I think you're clear to vote on the site plan and the remaining subdivision issues.
Mr. Smith, thank you for your assistance.
Appreciate it.
So the process we just went through counts as our vote on the seeker? Or we, okay. Just wanted to make sure that we covered that for each item.
Which sets the stage for commission action on the substance of the two issues before us regarding the site plan review and the re-subdivision. And we are now at a place, having completed seeker, to entertain motion for action on one or both of those items this evening.
Does it matter which order we go in?
Does the order matter?
Then I move approval of the application for MASPR-23-07 as presented with the 13 conditions that are enumerated in the staff analysis on page 26 and 27 of the information for the application.
Second.
Discussion on the motion before us for site plan review. There's no discussion, then all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? Site plan review is completed for MASPR-23-07, leaving us with the re-subdivision application R-23-70 for this same project.
I move approval of application R-23-70 as presented.
Second.
Discussion on the re-subdivision motion. If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The re-subdivision application is also approved, R-23-70. That completes our old business for this evening, and we'll move on to new business and a new set of public hearings. Again, thank you very much for your assistance with this.
Thank you.
First item on the agenda under new business is a re-subdivision R-24-03 for 717 and 721 Lemoyne Avenue. Owner is the Greater Syracuse Land Bank. Applicant is Frank and Angelo Chido. This is in the R2 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Rashad Rush, representing NITA Inc., 101 Gertrude Street. So the land bank acquired 721 Lemoyne Avenue in the summer of '22 and demolished a house in September '23. The Chiyodo family purchased the adjacent single-family house at 717 Lemoyne Avenue. Their plan is to demolish the existing garage and clean up the property. And they want additional green space for their existing tenant. The vacant parcel was small, so it was otherwise unbuildable under the rezone due to its narrow frontage. Merging the parcels will ensure that the property owner will receive one tax bill and that the vacant lot does not become orphaned in the future. Also, it makes it easier for fence permits. Yeah, that's about it.
That's it. All right.
Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you. Are there questions for the applicant from the commission members?
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, because I can't really tell from the information that we have on the curb cuts. What curb cuts are there in place right now for the two properties? And with respect to that, I know there's reference to the garage, which is kind of behind the house. Is there a driveway? Is there a curb cut there for the garage? There's mention of demolition for the garage and possible reconstruction, but that's not definite yet. So can you sort of elaborate that?
Okay, so
that.
we have Nate here from zoning. Maybe he can better clarify what you're trying to ask me. I don't have the map in front of me, so,
I think that shows it.
okay.
Okay, good.
So it looks like
So
a
that's the
curb
curb cut for the house that was demolished. And there's another curb cut for the other house where the garage is? Okay.
And it's the garage at this end of the lot that's going to be demolished, correct?
Yes.
But there's no action on that yet, right? I mean, you haven't gone for permits or anything on the
No.
garage? Okay, thank you.
Additional questions for the applicant? Good, good, okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward, provide your name, address, and comments. We don't have any additional speakers, it seems. We'll close the public comment, and I will turn to staff and legal counsel to ask if there's any additional information relevant on this application for the board to consider before entertaining a motion. No? No? Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion on this application for re-subdivision R-23-03 on Lemoyne Avenue?
Seeker?
You seek one.
We have seeker.
Thank you. I just spent detailed minutes on another project, going through that. You would think I would know.
You're hypnotized.
Apparently,
For the entire
Different
session.
procedure.
we have enough seeker minutes under our belt to carry us for the rest of the evening.
I thought we did it for everything.
Yeah. No, thank you very much. So before we turn to the substance of the application for the re-subdivision, the board can entertain a motion for a seeker determination on this project for a proposed re-subdivision.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 in your packet?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the questions of the short EAF Part 2?
Yes.
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Yes.
I move to establish the
Don't wait
planning
for
commission
me.
as the lead agency for purposes of seeker and make a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion. There's no discussion on the motion. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed indicate by saying no. Any abstentions? Our seeker review is complete for this item. Now we may proceed to the substance for the re-subdivision that's been proposed, R-24-03.
Approval of the re-subdivision?
Second?
Thank you. Discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion, then, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed signify by saying nay. Any abstentions? Subdivision for Lemoyne Avenue is approved, R2403, rather. We move to our next hearing.
The next agenda item is also a re-subdivision, R-24-08, located at 2500 and 2530 Bellevue Avenue. I'll note that typically this would be a lot alteration, but by our ordinance, it's over 10,000 square feet. It would be over 10,000 square feet, so it has to go through this process as a formal re-subdivision before a governing body.
If the applicant is here, please come forward, provide your name, address, and a brief
James
explanation.
Blaze, 2500 Bellevue Ave.
Then just a quick summary of what's involved in your
What's
application.
involved is I'm just combining these lots. I'm making the lot for 2500 bigger and the lot for 2530 smaller. I currently live at 2500. I've been looking at that lot for years, all overgrown. So I want to combine it, make my yard bigger, maybe grow a garden and clean it up.
Okay,
That's about it.
sounds good. Thank you. Questions for the applicant from the commission members?
All set, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come to the podium. We have no additional speakers for this application. We'll close public comment. Before we turn to our seeker action, I'll ask if the staff or our legal counsel have any additional relevant information for the board to consider for this application.
I do not.
Okay, thank you. And we are prepared to move into our seeker deliberation.
All right. Just for all of the rest of the applications, I am going to ask you if you're all familiar with the questions in the short EAF Part 2. Yes. And as to this item, has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1?
Yes.
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Is there a motion for a seeker determination?
Move to grant a negative declaration. And that this body act as lead agent. We don't need that on this one.
You don't need that on this one? No. Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion? All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved. We may now proceed to action on the actual re-subdivision on Bellevue Avenue.
I move to approve re-subdivision 24-08 as presented.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Re-subdivision is approved, and he's out the door.
Thank you.
We move to our next, could you make an announcement about
The next item on the agenda is a major site plan review, MASPR-24-03. The applicant recently reached out and has requested to hold this for a later meeting as they work through a couple more components of the project. So we expect it'll be back before you soon.
And when that happens, notice will go out again in the same way, so anyone interested in commenting on this or learning more about it should look for the notice.
That's correct, because we're not officially opening a public hearing
Yep.
at this time, so we'll have to do that at the next meeting that they're
Whenever
present.
they're
at.
ready. Okay.
So
Thank
with
you.
that, the next item on the agenda is a special use permit, SP-24-02, located at 960 Salt Springs Road. This is for an expansion of Elm Crest Children's Center. This is in the R5 zone district.
The applicant is here. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dave Hubbard. I represent Elmcrest Children's Center. Our architect could not make it this evening, so I'll do my best. Our project is to take one of our buildings. We have 17 on that site. We're going to take one of them. It's approximately 4,500 square foot, circa 1922, and we're going to make significant modifications and renovations to it. The final product will be an ADA accessible 8-bed OMH licensed respite mental health program of approximately 7,000 square feet. The project will further serve and support the respite and mental health needs of our community. We opened one of these up last year right across from it, which is called Building 18.
So you said 7,000 square foot facility. Is that the new
It's the new.
combined total, or you're doing a 7,000 square foot addition?
No, the actual building is about 4,400 square feet thereabouts. We're gonna put
And it's going to grow to
addition
7?
at the end of it for egress, offices, and we're gonna move out the back. I think it's 28 feet by something else. Can't point to it from here. You can see the shaded gray areas. Those are the additions.
Thank you. Questions for the applicant from the commission members?
I have two questions, if you will. We have a comment regarding the differentiation of new construction for old construction that comes from the Land Preservation Board. So,
Yes.
I mean, could you elaborate on where you are with respect to that?
We accommodated all of the Preservation Board's request. We altered the color of the rear. We dropped the eaves slightly, so the building looked very different from the new building, the 1922 section. I do have Ms. Atwater's comments, if you'd like me to address them specifically.
Okay, no, that's good enough, thank you. Unless there's something else you can add easily. Yeah, unless there's something else you can add easily, that's sufficient.
No, it's basically color and roof eave changes so that it didn't look like it was all the same. They really wanted to keep the integrity of the original 1922 look, and it was pretty easy to do. We pretty much accommodate any requests that we're asked to do along those lines. There is one particular area that has not been addressed yet, and that is one of the reviews talked about bike racks.
Right, yeah, that was my next question, because I was curious about
Absolutely.
that, because I didn't really understand the different
Yeah,
kinds.
well, we thought about it, and we agree in today's time that bikes are important, but kids don't come into care, young adults don't come into care with their bikes, and they're not visited by people on bikes. However, Building 18 and Building 1 will be getting lots of visitors. And there's a place right between those two buildings, if we can get to the site plan, and I'm going to point. Actually, right about here, it's off the print. There may be another picture there that shows the aerial. It's an aerial print. Okay, here we go. There you go. See this round circle here? This is the building we're currently proposing to work on. This is the building that was worked on. This has no bike racks. This has no bike racks. This is connected by a crosswalk, sidewalk, public access. A great place for those bike racks. Right here in this green space along the sidewalk, kind of connecting both of them. That's what we reckon. We'd love to do something like that.
Right. Well, thank you, I appreciate that, because it was just a little bit confusing comment, so I'm glad for
Yeah.
the clarification.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Further questions for the applicant?
I have a question for Jake. We just received communication regarding the actual zoning of Elmcrest Children's Center as an R5. Can you clarify, which I believe this person
Yes.
is asking as to whether that's an appropriate zone?
Sure. So we did receive one letter of opposition. The substance of the technical interpretation within this letter is inaccurate. A residential care facility is allowed by special use permit in every residential zone district.
Right.
So it's really nothing more than opposition of the project. Everything else technical listed is factually wrong.
Thank you. Further questions for the applicant?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your responsiveness to the Preservation Board's concern. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come forward. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. Provide your name, address, and comments. We don't appear to have any additional speakers for this application. We'll close the public comment. I turn to my colleagues to my left for legal counsel and staff to see if there are any additional facts or information that are relevant for the board's consideration as it takes up this application.
Don't have any?
No.
Thank you.
Okay. In that case, we will move on to our seeker review of this application.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 that's contained in your packet?
Yes.
You believe this project will have any moderate to large impact?
No.
Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a motion?
I'll move the seeker with a negative declaration.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion? All in favor of the seeker motion before us, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved. We may now proceed to action on the special use permit SP 24-02 on Salt Springs Road. Is there a motion for action?
Move approval.
Second?
Discussion on the motion?
I have a question because it's in a special use permit for council. Do we want to indicate the applicant's willingness to put the bike rack in that
You would put that in your condition.
place versus the comments by the transportation?
Right, you can make that a condition if that's what you want to do.
So I would ask, I forgot who made the motion, I'm sorry.
You did.
The maker of the motion. Sorry, Walter. It's
been a while.
To accept the amendment per the applicant's information that the bike rack will be placed in an agreeable location for building 18 and building 17. If I got that right, did I get that right? 18 and 1, sorry. Sorry.
Accept the friendly amendment and agree that we should commend the applicant for cooperating with staff and with the departments. Thank you.
Further discussion on the motion before us? If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The special use permit SP 2402 is approved. Thank you very much. And we move down our list to our next public hearing.
The next project, there will be two applications, so two companion pieces. The first is a special use permit, SP-24-04. Also a major site plan review, MA-SPR-24-05. Both of these are for 613-17 Erie Boulevard West. Owner is Erie Place Associates LLC. Martin McDermott is the applicant. Both of these, this lies within the MX3 zone district.
Good evening.
Good evening. Martin McDermott, 308 Farmer Street, Syracuse. So the property is a 65,000 three-story office building built in the late 80s. In recent years, due to certain conditions and in the office market, it became vacant without any viable options for re-tenanting in the near future. So the property owners took the steps to repurpose it for a climate-controlled self-storage unit with minor alterations to the existing facade and to the lot. The one additional piece would be an external elevator on the east side of the building. Everything else would remain the same, look as it does today, as a pristine office building from the outside. Is that good?
That's it? Okay. Questions for the applicant concerning either the re-subdivision or the special use permit?
No questions, thank you.
I have a question for staff, I guess. I mean, initially, there was a request or a zoning variance for a mini storage, and this was deemed not to be a mini storage, and it's now coming through with an application as storage. It wasn't clear to me why it didn't meet the criteria for mini storage. So I just wonder if you could elaborate that a little bit, the difference between the two.
Sure. Yeah, the way it's written in the code text currently is really your more traditional exterior self-storage facility. It's a secured gated facility, kind of has rows of exterior access to different storage containers. So this is interior self-storage. So after reviewing this, and we realize these exist here already in other locations. So U-Haul, for example, just to the east of us, the interior buildings, it's interior self-storage, right? So in the code, it wasn't covered. So what we did is we created an unlisted use. We created use-specific standards that apply to that specific use within a specific district. So really, the only difference for this is that it's not in text in the code yet, but it is a determination with use-specific standards that are complete and on file within the Office of Zoning Administration, and they will be enforceable just like any other use-specific standards that are in text in the code currently.
Thank you.
Yep.
Further questions for staff or the applicant?
I have a question on the special use permit. I think I read in here, and maybe I got it wrong, that there's no plan to handle trash on site, that it will be going across the street
Yeah.
to 627 or whatever that is across the street.
620, yeah, 620 Erie Boulevard.
Right.
So the rationale for that is that self-storage facility like this does not generate trash. None of the locker rentals, they will be fined if they leave or are shown to leave trash. We don't want to provide a facility where they would. The only trash that will be generated will be through an office that's employed by one person. The same building owner owns the property across the street and has a large trash facility there for what might be 1 bag a week of trash.
And there's 200 parking spaces affiliated with the building, as I understand it.
On the current tax lot where the building sits, yes, there are. They will not be needed for the self-storage, but the property across the street, as I mentioned, is under the same ownership, and there is some across easement for employees in that building historically and continuing to be able to park in those parking spaces.
Okay, so it will remain as
It will-
200 parking spaces.
There will be a reduction of some available. There's some that are undercover that were specific to that building that will not be open, that will be used for self-storage uses. There will be some eliminated maybe in the front again, or for where the elevator goes. But in general, roughly 200 spaces will be on the tax lot.
And I could ask, everything is now in order with the issues for the fire alarm and sprinkler system, so that you can proceed as necessary with that?
So we do have a sprinkler permit in place, demo permit in place. I've not gotten an update on the fire alarm permit, but I know there have been active discussions with the fire department on that.
Question, can you clarify, so as the use determination was made. Did I hear you mention direct access to exterior storage units or outside storage in the back?
No, it's
Okay.
just that they're underneath the building themselves. They used to be available for employees in the building. So now they'll be, as part of the plan, you'll see part of it will be a drive drop-off. It's just covered parking. It will remain for temporary parking and a drop-off area that's undercover specifically for self-storage. So that would eliminate some spots technically.
Got it. No, just wanted to make sure that it wouldn't be a space for storage.
No, there's no external. This is all climate-controlled storage in the interior building.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
And the windows too just are all, you can't see the self-storage from outside. You drive by and it looks like an office building.
Additional questions for the applicant? Good. Okay, thank you very much. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments.
Pat Hogan, City Councilor, Second Council District. I'm a chair of the Economic Development Committee, and I'm, of course, in favor of this, putting this building to productive use. And I want to compliment our staff here in the city as working with the architect here and the developer. You know, that area is undergoing some change, you know, and I appreciate everybody being able to act nimbly to help out everybody here as far as the business goes. So I'm in favor of it.
Thank you, Councilor. Other individuals who may wish to speak in favor of the application, please come forward. If not, are there any individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the application? If so, please come to the podium. We don't seem to have any additional speakers, so we'll close the public comment. Again, I turn to legal counsel and staff to ask if there are any additional facts or information relevant for the board to consider as it entertains this proposal.
I don't have any, thank you.
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you both. We will now turn to seeker action for these two items.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1 contained in your packet?
Yes.
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No.
All right. Because you do not believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and complete the EAF Part 3 accordingly.
Thank you. Is there such a motion?
Just one other question on this special permit. Does it require a lead agency designation?
No.
Okay. Then I'd move to grant a negative declaration.
Second.
Discussion on the seeker motion. All in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The seeker motion is approved, and we may now proceed to act individually on the two items before us, the special use permit and the major site plan review, SP 2404 and MASPR 24-05.
I move to approve SP-24-04 as presented.
Second.
Discussion on the motion. All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special use permit, rather, is approved. Thank you. We move to the site plan review.
I move to approve MASPR-24-05 as presented.
Second.
Thank you both. Discussion on the motion. Those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? The site plan review is approved. We have one additional hearing, I think, for this evening.
The last item in this category on the agenda is SP-24-05, special use permit for a restaurant new restaurant at 124-26 Dell Street. Norm Roth is owner applicant. This is in the MX2 zone district.
Good evening.
Evening. William Pitcher, Pitcher Architect, 124 Fiegel Avenue, Syracuse, New York. The existing property has been a restaurant under the old zoning code, under a use variance. And we are now asking, because of the change of tenants within the building, to rectify or codify what its new requirements will be under the new zoning code. The property is presently zoned MX2, and restaurants greater than 1,000 square feet require a special permit. The existing first floor restaurant is 1,249 square feet, and the second floor is 1,192 square feet. So both are over 1,000. Both restaurants are legally permitted under the existing use variance of the previous zoning code. The total square footage of the building remains unchanged. Only change is that it's changing from 2 tenants in the building to 1 tenant for both floors. So the intensity of use remains substantially the same. The property history, around 1900, the property included 2 buildings, a multifamily house in the front and a commercial building in the back. Around 1957, the property was classified as commercial use, and sometime after that, it was reclassified as residential use. Around 2004, the front house burned down, and at that point, it was necessary for a use variance for the continuance of the building behind it, which was an auto repair shop which had ceased operations. At that time, the owner added a second floor to the property, which is the present configuration of the building. Under that change, both floors were the restaurant, and they continue to be the restaurant. The special permit includes the entirety of the building and the site for all structures and for all uses on the property. The square footages of the 2 existing restaurants is unchanged. The function of the first floor and the second floor will continue to be as a restaurant, and the only thing that is changing is the tenant renting the spaces. That's basically what our special permit is. We're asking under MX2 a special permit for a restaurant. We believe that variances are going to be needed for the parking in front of the building and possibly the number of parking spaces, and those are the only 2 things that I've identified so far.
Thank you for that summary. Are there questions for the applicant?
We have a comment about the building, the rear of the building actually possibly being across the property line. You know, is that something that needs to be clarified, can be clarified, or is that sort of lost in the dust of time?
It's the matter of the building encroaching into the rear lot is a civil matter, but so we requested that they reach out to that property owner to initiate whatever proceedings they might have, but it doesn't stop you from acting tonight.
Total capacity for the restaurant, the seating?
I didn't actually count it, but the layout is on the floor plan.
We'll include that in the special use permit.
Yeah, the fire marshal doing the inspection will also look at the layout, furniture layout, and give a capacity that they'll post.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, okay,
that'll be done.
thanks. And there's 1 kitchen.
Well, it was 2 restaurants, and there are 2 cooking facilities.
That's right.
So they're kind of going to do split menus. You know, different menu on the second floor than the first floor. Regarding the encroachment over the property line, I mean, the building has been there since 1900, is open and obvious, and the adjacent property owner has taken no action to assert their property rights.
Been a while.
Further questions for the applicant?
Is there a plan right now to go for the variance before the Board of Zoning Appeals, or what's?
So the staff would like a comment on that. So our documentation and history accounts for parking on the lot that's legally permitted, and our analysis is that it does not need a variance. It's a legal non-conforming site feature for parking at this time. It'll remain that way.
Thank you. Are there individuals who would like to speak in favor of this application? If so, please come to the podium, provide your name, address, and comments.
Good evening, everybody. Corey Williams, 255 Buckingham Avenue. I am the 3rd District Councilor. This property resides within the 3rd District. I would like to speak on behalf of this application. You know, in the Westcott neighborhood, we pride ourselves on being a walkable, livable neighborhood and having destinations for people to, you know, walk to and ride their bikes to is something that we, you know, really prioritize. I have not heard any negative feedback in terms of this proposal. In fact, I've heard quite the opposite. People are still mourning the loss of St. Urban and are looking forward to a new tenant on Dell Street. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Counselor. Other individuals who wish to speak in favor of this application, please come to the podium. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the application, please come forward. No additional speakers rushing forward. We will close public comment. Again, I turn to legal counsel and staff to ask if there are any additional facts or information that the board should be aware of as it proceeds from this point forward.
Just a point of clarity on the allowed use here. So restaurants in MX2 are allowed. If they're over 1,000 square feet, they're allowed by special use permit procedure. So this is a new development. It's a change. It's a new restaurant, new tenant, as explained. So it triggers this new requirement under the new code, which, you know, doesn't mean it's varying or needs variances or anything. It's allowed, but it needs a special use permit. So just to explain the process on why this had to come before the board, and that's why.
It's helpful to have that
Since it's a special use
context.
permit, the common council will be the lead agency.
No.
For seeker.
No, same as early items on the agenda tonight. The City Planning Commission will perform seeker on items that are recommended to council as the governing body or on the decision. So no changes in that. So street actions, special use permits, this governing body will perform seeker still.
Thank you. Any additional comments, questions? In that case, we then will proceed to a seeker determination for this special use permit.
Has everybody had a chance to review the short EAF Part 1?
Yes?
Do you believe this project will have any moderate to large impacts?
No?
Because you don't believe there will be any moderate to large impacts, I recommend you vote to issue a negative declaration under seeker and to complete Part 3 of the EAF accordingly.
Thank you.
Move that this body be designated as lead agency and move to grant a negative declaration.
Thank you both. Discussion on the seeker motion before us. If there's no discussion, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Seeker motion is approved, and we can move to the special permit, special use permit itself, SP 2405.
Move to grant the special permit.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Special use permit for Dell Street is approved. Thank you. We have a couple more items of business under the other category this evening.
Yes, to close out, we have two other business items. Both are 3-mile limit reviews. The first is 3S-24-04 This is within the town of Manlius in the Sunrise Terrace tract. We have engineering's approval along with the Onondaga County Planning Department.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the commission members on this town of Manlius 3-mile limit case? And if not, is there a motion for action? 3S 2404.
So moved?
Discussion on the motion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The Manlius 3-mile limit case is approved. We have one more of these.
Last one is 3S-24-05, also 3-mile limit review in the town of Onondaga. This falls within Falcon Ridge, which is 4184 Cleveland Road. Applicant Tim Coyer.
The engineer signed off on this one.
Yes, both city engineer and county planning department.
Great, thank you. Is there a motion on the Onondaga 3-mile limit case?
Move approval.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? 3S 24-05 is approved. Finishes our docket. Is there a motion to adjourn? Second.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. We are adjourned to return on the 12th, 4th of April.
When do we come back, Christian? 15.
Oh, 15.
Tax day.
Oh, income tax day.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I just couldn't figure out what day in April it was. I knew it was 3 weeks from now.